Hi, this is Sarah from sarah.com and Facebook The Numbers Queen. I am a professional psychic from the Gold Coast, Australia. My mission is to transform the public's perception of psychics and their own intuition from skepticism to trust. I do this through readings, blogs, workshops, and collaborations. So welcome to today's interview. I'm talking to my acupuncturist, Yoong from Pulse Acupuncture in Brisbane. I have seen Tia for some time and really love her energy. So welcome, Tia.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.
So Tia, how do you like to introduce yourself? How do you like to describe yourself?
I like to call myself an acupuncturist, a Chinese medicine practitioner. Yeah. But I'm the acupuncturist that will change your life in ways that you'll never expect.
That's true. You're very surprising. I have to say, I mean, I've seen a lot of acupuncturists, but your approach is extremely out of the box. So what do you see as the main difference between Chinese medicine and Western medicine? Obviously, a lot of people have come from one world to another. What do you see as sort of the main differences?
I think it's a holistic understanding of the body. So it's that the body, the mind, and the spirit is a whole. It is complete. And so we never look at anything in isolation. Everything in your life is relevant, everything, even in your family tree. So it's very important for me, I always explain, to collect the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle so I can see the bigger picture. So something that always comes up as we wander down the treatment program together is almost every session I collect another piece of the jigsaw puzzle to really get an even deeper understanding of what's going on with your body, with your health, and your situation. So I'm able to then formulate the best individualized treatment for you.
Yeah, well, I have noticed you definitely ask questions I've never been asked before. It's just in my life in general. And I'm like, what does that mean? It's pretty left field. But then I know, yeah, like when we have our conversations, it kind of comes together, and I actually quite enjoy that part of it. It keeps it very fresh. Now, we know from your date of birth, which I've kept private, that you are a 30/3 Lifepath artist and communicator. So you're here to heal your solar plexus, this central core in yourself and others, which some people say is your spiritual guts, your courage. It's talking about, that mouth, that willingness to say what others are afraid to say. It's a lot about healthy ego, confidence, intelligence, and the inner child or imagination. So from my experience, this life path, which was heavily triggered last year, 2019, a 3 universal year, it's a lot about turning the inner critic into an inner genius and doing a lot of healing of future generations through kind words, through joy, through playfulness. So, as someone who's working this journey, what's your advice for people who find they have a very strong inner critic, to the point that it almost drowns out the other voices?
Which, Sarah, I see a lot of.
Yeah.
I see a lot of, because I've experienced it myself.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the beauty of being in practice, using not only my technical knowledge and skills, but also being able to share my personal life experience and the lessons that I've learned. The inner critic, through my own personal learning, is very simplistically recognition that you are your biggest critic.
Yeah.
And if you can realize you are your biggest critic, you can then realize you can be your biggest cheerleader. So, and it's practice, and there's lots of different tools you can use to practice that. But that was probably my biggest lesson. Okay, if I'm my biggest critic, and it didn't happen within days or weeks or months, this has happened over years, since my late 20s to, today. Really making a decision, a choice. And that's something that I always tell people as well. We always have a choice. We always have a choice. So even when the critic pops up, saying recognizing that voice, thank you, recognition that that's not serving you, and recognition that you have the power to be empowered to change that into a positive voice.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, that life path 3 is a lot about choosing your choices, following through and getting the learning rather than looking for the perfect answer. It's interesting also you talk, because the elements in chakras for the third chakra is fire, that idea that if you can fire yourself in a way, you know, almost like telling yourself, oh, you should just quit. You can also inspire yourself. You can fire yourself up. And I love what you're talking about, where you can look behind the scenes and see that if someone's throwing a rotten apple at you, it must mean you're on stage. It must mean you're actually in the spotlight. You're doing something worth noticing.
Yes, that's a big one. That's quite a new lesson for me.
Well, I did see you mention in the paper recently. We've been making some jokes about that, right?
Just a little mention. Yeah. And I think there's something that has been, again, more recently, really coming to accept. You must be doing something right if you're pissing someone off.
You're a classic. Yeah, well, I think, I don't know if we've discussed this, but, you know, from my other experiences in Chinese medicine, acupuncture, the kidneys being about that fear, and in some of the energy healings that I've looked at, you know, kidneys is about being pissed off, like kidney issues. And it's almost like there's that fear, you know, that someone's draining your life force, that you don't have enough life force to stand up to them.
Well, I think here, again, something that I've personally experienced and I see often in other people is not so much fear around other people, but fear of yourself. Fear of yourself. Fear holding yourself back. And again, it comes back to the inner critic. Recognizing that the fears are very much unwarranted. And they're really personally generated.
Yeah, it's so interesting that we create the critic. And then when we have that realization that we are the creator beyond the critic, there's that massive transformation where there's that taking of responsibility. So what happened at your life path turning point? So as a 3-0, usually it's around 30, and sometimes it's at age 3. There's usually a minor turning point as a child. So can you think of anything where you started to express yourself more, be more creative, be more wild child around 30?
Yeah, 30 is a bit, it's a bit novel, really. I had my natural hair color, being of Asian background, is very similar to your own, Sarah. And at age 30, I decided to go blonde, just like this.
Just overnight, or?
Yeah, pretty much overnight. I just went, oh, well.
Close to your birthday, or just?
Yeah, right before my birthday.
It's really interesting because that's usually when the shift is with the personal year and numerology.
Yeah, but the biggest thing really was I stopped giving a fuck.
Okay.
Yeah, so I stopped really, again, recognition of that critic. I let go of my fear of what other people thought of me, and just became more confident. Like, I really felt like I shed a layer and was able to be more free, more flexible, greater sense of freedom, more authentic. So it was quite liberating, actually. 30 was good.
I mean, firstly, thank you for sharing that. It's a really, I love hearing that. And what was the reception like when you basically went from dark to non-dark, shall we say? You know, you really just sort of went basically pure shock value. What was the reaction like?
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Can you remember what people said or what people did? Did your partner recognize you?
Yeah, it just complete acceptance from everyone, and actually a whole lot of joy. So it was really fun. And so I guess in that sense, it makes me realize it doesn't matter what I do. People still love me. People still see value in me. And I can really do, you know, we can do what we want in life, and those people close to you will always accept you.
That is super interesting. It was probably a year and a half ago, I cut off all my hair. I had really, really long hair, and I cut it right up to here. Kind of where you're at, actually. I didn't change the color, and it was extremely transformational because I had literally cut off all of the energy of those previous years, and it almost felt like I was in a completely new relationship with myself, my husband, the world. I actually hadn't had hair that short since I was a very little girl, and it brought back a really like an ease to my life. Literally, it was so easy to look after, and I felt excited again about my appearance. And yeah, I remember writing this article on my site where I quoted Coco Chanel, who said, "A woman who's about to cut her hair is about to change her life, whether it's cut or color." And actually, yeah, some of my greatest wisdoms have come while I'm at my hairdressers. I always thought it was all of that massaging of the crown chakra.
Yeah.
I really like opening that all up. Interesting, such an interesting turning point. So you have a business that does have a strong heart. I mean, I see you run events, you've done fundraising for the bushfires, and you often do something with an element of charity. What do you love about having that heart to your business, that community-centric focus?
Knowing that I'm making a contribution. And I think that's a big thing. Adolescence into my adult years, something that was very important to me was to be a good person in the world. We all know that there's, you know, a lot of grief, a lot of trauma, a lot of negativity, a lot of aggression in the world. And so being in the position that I am now, being able to take action to contribute to the individual, to contribute to the group, to contribute to the economy, to contribute to my family, I feel is a great accomplishment in feeling like I'm contributing good to the world.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that made me notice your practice. Obviously, I was referred to you by my friend Francesca from Francesca's Flowers, but you know, I always sort of look for that point of difference if I'm going to be getting, you know, someone actually touching my body and going into my field. And yeah, I still remember that first needle you put into my EMF point, and I squealed, and I had this super consciousness shift, and I'm like, wow, that was much a little painful, but much faster than like the other stuff I've been doing. You know, obviously I'm a slightly special person, but yeah, I think I always need just something a little bit different about you, and you know, even just the way that you're willing to do things, to put yourself out there, and almost to be a bit untraditional. I find that quite daring, even in your field where I see a lot of people quite obedient, I guess I could say, which is that 3 energy. The 3 energy is very cheeky, and it questions authority, and at the same time it definitely wants people to come together. Its favorite thing is to see happy families.
Absolutely.
So if you don't mind me asking, what is it like for you to have a family now? Because obviously you were an acupuncturist and now you have a family. Now, what's it like to be able to perhaps combine some of those things?
I knew I wanted to create a different family environment from what I experienced as a child. Not that there was anything traumatic in my own childhood, but definitely creating a more progressive household. Yeah. So my career started at the same time that my family started. So I feel like that was it's quite a benefit. So when I entered the workforce, I didn't know anything different in terms of juggling work and raising children. This has always been my norm. So I finished uni, I had a baby, went into work straight away, and that was my balance. I didn't know what it was like to work full time without children. So I think that was ingrained in my business. My business was built around the family unit, the flexibility, and really utilising the fact that I'm my own boss, so I can set my own rules. and that best are suited to my family, to serve my family.
Yeah, well, perhaps that's where that community energy comes from, that I could really feel. When I was thinking of leaving my 9 to 5, I started a personal growth journey. And one of the reasons I wanted to start my own business in palm reading and that kind of stuff was firstly for my own mental health and physical health. But secondly, I wanted to have a life where I could wake up with my children and tickle them. And I wanted to see them every single day. I really wanted like 100% of that. And yeah, this business allows me to do that. There's a lot of sacrifices, obviously, but that was my number one criteria, is that I wouldn't miss watching them wake up each morning. Just like I once met someone and they had seen every sunrise for like the past 10 or 20 years. And I remember thinking, what a legend.
Yeah.
And for me, that's not going to happen with my sleep patterns. But what I felt I could do, like I said, is, will be there the moment my children wake up.
Yeah.
Time. And I feel like that creates an amazing neural pattern, that there's someone there for them.
Yes.
So yeah, I can definitely relate to what you're saying. 3s tend to be really masterful at juggling, it has to be said. They generally make it look quite easy to the rest of us. Well, look, it's been super interesting to talk to you. So what are the main, basically, how can people contact you? Where can they find you?
I like to refer people to the website, pulseacupuncture.com.au.
So
you can find it
like PULSE.
That's right.
Have
That's
you
right.
got a picture of the logo?
I don't have one with me right now.
I'll put it in the blog, because when I saw Tia's logo, I had a bit of a giggle because it's an 1111 on its side. And you see repeating numbers, right?
I do see repeating numbers. I absolutely do. And that's something, that logo was in my head right from the conception of my business. And I worked with someone to bring that to life. And I only recently realized, well, thanks to you bringing it to my attention.
My obsessive brain, yeah.
Yep, that 1111 sideways.
Well, when I guess when I walked into your practice, I did feel that strong starseed energy, and there was just something there that was deeper. And now that I've been there a few times, yeah, sometimes I almost feel like I can sense crystals or like other, helpful beings around, and I really enjoy that. I actually find that a positive thing. So they can find you through the website, and you're also physically in Brisbane. You have a location and you're still open.
I am in Paddington. Yep.
Fantastic. Well, Tia, thank you for sharing a little bit about your life. Before we go, I wanted to do something that's a bit cheeky. I didn't warn you, but I was wondering, you're right-handed, aren't you?
Yes.
Wondering if you could just hold up your hand. It doesn't have to be close, but just about there, because I wanted to show people something. So one of the reasons I really like Tia is her hand is actually the opposite of my hand. So where Tia's got can I talk about your hand?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like a super close-up, right? So Tia's got the broad palm, which is huge amounts of energy and always thinking bigger. My husband has that too, and an enormous amount of earth connection, like very practical, very robust, reliable energy. And then, as you'll see with mine, I've got that more finer, and actually it's just a different shaped hand. I've got a lot more air and water. Tia's hand today is not so red, but it often has red coming through, which I often see in people who do something in healthcare. But yeah, there's that strong earth, there's some fire, there's some air there, where I've got just a lot of water and air. So I just find when I'm around Tia, I am able to get a better grasp on reality, but especially where my body's at. And it's interesting because I think I've introduced you to some pretty wacky concepts in our short friendship, haven't I? So yeah, I just wanted to show that, because I think and thanks for that, I really appreciate that. By the way, does your thumb bend backwards? Did we ever do that?
Not quite.
Can you bend it back at the joint? Yeah, so that's something we have in common. So Tia and I both have stiff thumbs. So stiff thumb people won't back down. Actually, you'll hear it in the way that we talk. We even talk in a way that it's like, you want to argue with me? Good luck. So
it's true.
You're not leaving that opening at the end of the sentence like, is that okay? Are you sure? I used to be like that, by the way. I've changed a lot, I think, over the years, but that not backing down, it can be really good when you do advocacy work. You've got to like protect the business or protect the space, but it is also known, you know, for being fairly stubborn, sometimes a little bit pushy, sometimes a bit serious. And I guess that's why we have husbands and children and clients to keep us laughing.
That's it.
Well, thanks so much, Dee. I'm going to wind this call up now. So thanks also to everyone watching. This is Sarah from Sarah.com and Facebook, The Numbers Queen. I hope to see you again on another interview soon. Okay, 11:11, peace signs always.
Thanks, Sarah.